Yeah, I'll tell you something, little trick. It doesn't always work, but you might want to try this. A lot of times you'll think, like, if you have a leaking engine, it'll be a seal, like a crankshaft seal, or in this case, it was a cam seal that was leaking, started to leak about last month. I says, let me give this a try, because this is a pain in the ass to take out the timing belt, take off the gear on a camshaft and all that. It's a lot of hours of job to do that, to change that seal out. What I did was I put marble mystery oil in it, quite a bit, like a quart, and I ran it. What it does is, I was looking for, I got some other seals around here, man, I just couldn't find any, but it's a round seal that sits on the end of the camshaft sprocket here. That was what's leaking. It could be the crankshaft, it could be the back of the crankshaft by the transmission. If you got a leak back there, that'll be a real pain to change that seal out. And sometimes you got to sleeve the crankshaft too, because it could be you have a worn indentation in there. But a lot of times these seals are round, right? They're round, right, for that type of seal. They'll have like a little spring in there to keep some kind of tension on there, or maybe they won't have a spring, but they'll have like a lip, and there's like a indentation where it kind of like opens and closes, more or less conforms to the object, the camshaft or the crankshaft. So it's just enough tension to keep the oil out, right? Well, a lot of times the rubber on a seal is not what goes bad. What happens is it gets junk in there from like sludge or just some kind of accumulation. It gets caught up in the corner of the engine. The engine doesn't have to be sludged up for this to happen. This engine's actually clean. But I tried Auto RX can work good too, but I just had a bunch of this Marvel Mystery Oil on hand, and I tried it, and it totally stopped the seal leakage problem. Now you can see there's a little bit of oil still on the alternator, but there's nothing on the belt, there's nothing up around here. There's no, like this engine now, I just shut it off 10 minutes ago, normally it'd be smoking from the oil. Nothing. Totally alleviated the problem. Now actually on this El Camino, I got the hood popped up on it because I keep the battery disconnected while I'm not using it. On this El Camino, many years ago, I'd say about 2 decades ago, on the side of the transmission, there's the shift shaft seals, and it was probably in the 90s before the internet was really around too much, where you can just order parts real easy. And the automotive parts store didn't have it. They're like, I don't know where to get them, and the dealer didn't have them and shit. And I was like, so what I did was I took out the seals. I removed the shift shaft seals. I took out, I went down there, lifted up, the car, jacked the car up, took those seals out, and there was a bunch of crap behind them, right? Behind them. Cleaned them off really good, put a light coat of oil on them, installed them. Transmission has never leaked out there at all since that time, from about 20 years ago. So a lot of times the parts aren't really bad, they get dirty. Seals. Now not a gasket is probably not going to have that type of situation, but if you have a round seal, if it gets gummed up with crap behind it, it's not going to like grip tight around whatever the surface it is, a camshaft or a crankshaft. And so if you put some of this stuff in here, usually this Marvel Mystery Oil works pretty good. Auto RX works good for that type of stuff too. It'll get that crap out from around that seal, and the seal will conform to the the crankshaft or the camshaft, or maybe it's just a little bit of grit goes right in there, because that was the case with the side shafts, the shift shaft seals on that El Camino and the Saginaw that's in there. It's a Saginaw from a truck, and I never changed them. They don't leak at all. So I'm going to put this out as a little known mechanic's tip. This will not work if you have like a valve cover gaskets leak or something like that. I'm talking about if you got a crankshaft seal leak or a camshaft seal leak, it might work. It's worth giving it a try. Sometimes it really is just cause of dirt. The seals aren't really screwed up, and once they you don't need to put some additive in them to swell up the rubber. It's usually dirt and crap that gets accumulated there, and this worked like a charm, man. This worked like a charm. I was like thinking, man, I didn't really feel like doing that job, but I said, now I don't have to. It's fine. It's totally fine. Totally stopped. Totally stopped. So, figure that's a good tip. Good tip. Why do the freaking extra work if you don't have to, man? I got enough projects to do as it is, man. Not that it's something I have to do. It's just something I kind of like doing. It's a labor of love.